I never wanted to come here. That was the first thought in my head as I stepped out of the car and looked up at the house. It wasn't small, wasn't particularly big either. A neat two-story place with trimmed hedges and a porch swing that looked like it belonged in a family photo. It wasn't ugly, it was just unfamiliar. Mom had already walked up to the front door, fumbling with her keys, humming some tune like this was just another day. Like we weren't about to pretend that moving in with a man she barely knew was a perfectly normal thing to do. I grabbed my bags, the weight digging into my palms, and followed. The air smelled different here. Cleaner, quieter. The kind of neighborhood where everyone knew each other's names but still peeked through their blinds when something seemed off. When we stepped inside, the first thing I noticed was how still everything felt. The furniture was modern but impersonal, like a showroom. Too put together, too staged. The kind of place where nothing ever felt lived in. And then there he was. Mom's new husband stood near the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, like he'd just finished doing something useful. He wasn't smiling, but he didn't look cold either. Just observing. "Glad you made it," he said, nodding slightly. His voice was steady, even. No fake enthusiasm, no overcompensating friendliness. Just a quiet confidence, like he belonged here. Like this was his house, his life, and we were the ones stepping into it. I muttered something back, setting my bags down by the stairs. His eyes flickered toward me for a second longer than necessary before he turned back to Mom. "I left the room upstairs ready for you," he said. Something about the way he carried himself made the room feel smaller. He wasn't trying to be intimidating. He wasn't trying to be anything, really. But there was something in the way he held himself. Controlled, restrained. Like a person who never did anything by accident. I exhaled slowly. This was temporary. It had to be. At least that's what I told myself. Days pass in a slow, dragging blur. The house is too quiet, too neat, too still. I feel like an outsider, like a guest who's overstayed their welcome. Calls with my boyfriend become shorter, his voice distant, his responses clipped. "Busy, talk later?" he says more often now, and when we do talk it's all surface level. "How's the house?" "Fine." "How's your mom?" "Fine." Nothing feels fine. I spend most of my time inside watching the way the house moves, the way life here seems to exist in slow motion. He's always calm, never raises his voice, never rushes. He makes coffee at the same time every morning, takes his jacket off the same way every evening. Precise, controlled, measured. I try not to notice, but I do. One afternoon I step outside for air and see a woman from next door. She watches me too long before speaking. "You must be the daughter." Her voice is polite, but something in her gaze lingers. Later that night I head to the kitchen for water and turn straight into him. Too close. My breath catches. He doesn't move. Neither do I. Then just as quickly it's over. The house feels different when it's empty. Mom is gone for the weekend, and for the first time it's just the two of us. The air is thick with silence, broken only by the occasional clatter of tools from the garage. I try to focus on anything else, but I can't. The way he moves, the way he exists in his own world. Controlled, deliberate, unaware of the storm inside me. Or maybe not unaware. The evening stretches on, and at some point I find myself standing in the doorway of the garage. I tell myself I just need fresh air, but I don't leave. We talk. Not about anything important, but something shifts. He's not just quiet, not just composed. There's something else beneath it. A sharp mind, a restraint that feels heavier than it should. I feel it pressing against my ribs, clawing at my throat. Then, before I can think, before I can stop, I step closer. My lips barely brush his. A mistake, a moment that shouldn't exist. He pulls back, his expression unreadable. Then he turns and walks away. I stand there, breathless, knowing I can't take it back. I pretend nothing happened. I wake up, drink my coffee, answer texts, go through the motions of a life that still belongs to me. My boyfriend calls, his voice familiar but distant, like a song I used to love but can't connect to anymore. "You okay?" he asks, and I say yes, because saying anything else would mean explaining something I don't even understand. The new husband acts the same. Not colder, not warmer, just the same. He eats dinner, watches TV, moves through the house like everything is in its place. I tell myself that means it wasn't real, that I imagined the weight of that second before he walked away. But something inside me tightens when he enters the room. Mom doesn't notice. She's happy, caught up in her world, but the neighbor sees something she shouldn't. I feel her eyes on me every time I step outside. One evening as I pass by, she stops me, voice low, deliberate. You better stop before it gets worse. My throat dries but I keep walking. I don't ask what she means. Already know. I need to fix this. I tell myself it was nothing, a mistake, a second too long in a moment that never should have happened. I text my boyfriend, ask him to come over, act like I miss him. When he arrives, I force a smile, let him wrap his arms around me, pretend it feels the same. We sit on the couch, watch something I don't register, his hand resting on my leg, familiar but suddenly foreign. He leans in, kisses me, and I let it happen, waiting for that pull, that warmth, that certainty. But there's nothing. Just pressure, just routine, just a memory of what it used to be. My mind betrays me. I compare. The weight of a gaze that lingers too long, a voice steadier, deeper, a presence that fills the room without trying. I try to shake it off, try to remind myself who I'm supposed to want, but it's already too late. He pulls away, smiling, unaware. You okay? He asks. I nod, lie. But something inside me knows I can't go back. The house is quiet, too quiet. Mom is gone, my boyfriend is somewhere else, and suddenly it's just the two of us. I don't plan it, don't seek it out, but somehow we end up in the same room. The air shifts, heavier than it should be. I pour myself water, take longer than necessary, feel his presence behind me before I even turn. I tell myself to move, to leave, to break whatever this is before it breaks me. But I don't. The silence stretches, thick, charged, holding something unspoken between us. I don't breathe. Neither does he. I should say something, make it normal, but normal doesn't exist anymore. My fingers tighten around the glass, my heartbeat pounds in my ears, and I realize, this isn't in my control anymore. Later, when I step outside, needing air, needing space, the neighbor is there waiting. Her eyes narrow, her voice low, knowing. You really think this ends well? My stomach knots, but I don't answer. Because I don't think. I don't let myself. I already know she's right. Something changes. Mom watches me more closely, like she's piecing together a puzzle she didn't know was missing pieces. She lingers in rooms longer, her eyes flick between us during dinner, her voice a little too careful when she speaks. I act normal, or at least I try, but every glance feels like a warning, every silence feels heavier than the last. One night she finally says it. You're around him a lot. It's casual, tossed into conversation like an afterthought, but I hear the weight behind it. My stomach twists, my pulse quickens, but I don't let it show. He lives here, I say, forcing a laugh, pretending it's ridiculous, pretending she doesn't see the truth creeping at the edges. She doesn't press, but I feel it, she knows something is off. Later my phone buzzes. My boyfriend. We need to talk. I stare at the screen, but I don't answer. I don't want to hear his voice, don't want to be pulled back into the life I should want. Because deep down I already know. I'm too far gone. The house feels warmer tonight, the kind of warmth that makes it hard to think straight. Mom is out, my boyfriend is a ghost, and I am here alone with him again. It doesn't feel accidental anymore. I tell myself I should leave the room, but I don't. I tell myself this is wrong, but it doesn't stop me from moving closer. He doesn't move away. There's no hesitation this time, no second guessing, just a pull too strong to fight. I hear my own heartbeat in my ears, feel my pulse hammering beneath my skin. Then I kiss him. It's slow, deliberate, the final step over a line I can't erase. His hands are careful, hesitant, but neither of us stop. Neither of us pull away. I don't know how long we stay like that before I hear it. The sound of the front door closing. My stomach drops. I turn just in time to see her standing there, frozen in place. Her face is pale, her expression unreadable. But in her eyes I see everything. The betrayal, the disgust, the quiet destruction of something that can never be repaired. He doesn't say a word. He just steps back, jaw clenched, eyes dark, and walks past her without looking back. The front door opens, then shuts. He's gone. Mom doesn't scream, doesn't cry. She just stares at me like I'm someone she doesn't recognize, like I'm something rotten she let into her house without realizing it. The silence is worse than if she had yelled. I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. What could I possibly say? That it was a mistake? That it didn't mean anything? We both know that's a lie. She turns and walks upstairs. I don't follow. My phone buzzes. It's him. My boyfriend. What the hell is going on? I don't answer, but I don't have to. By morning he's blocked me. Gone like the rest of my life. The house feels different now, colder, emptier, heavier. Mom doesn't look at me, doesn't acknowledge me. I move through the rooms like a ghost, knowing I did this. I broke everything. And for what? A moment. A mistake. A choice I can never undo. Months pass but nothing changes. The house still holds the weight of what happened, thick in the air like dust that won't settle. Mom doesn't speak to me. She moves around me like I don't exist, like I'm just another piece of furniture she doesn't care for anymore. I try to act like it doesn't matter, but it does. The silence is worse than any words she could have said. I stopped expecting to wake up one morning and find things fixed. Some things don't get fixed. Some things just stay broken. I go through my days in a loop, no calls, no texts, no one left to turn to. And then one evening I hear her footsteps outside my door. Creaks open, slow, hesitant. She doesn't speak. Doesn't look angry. Doesn't look sad. Just tired. She sits down across from me, folding her hands in her lap. The silence stretches between us, thick, unmovable. Neither of us say a word. We just sit there. But somehow, in that silence, in that absence of everything, I understand exactly what she means.